Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tactical Tips brought to you by the Independent Dealer Podcast and our friends at Neo. We talk about this every week. You have to have processes, and Neo really helps us with our process of underwriting. It automates it, and that's great. Anytime you can automate things, you can become better at what you do, and it leaves you time to do other things better. So this week, what's neat, we're talking about another process, a process I care very deeply about, and if you're a car dealer out there, you should care super, like this is the biggest thing you should worry about beside cash flow, because the faster we get cars ready, the faster we make money. So this week we're talking about time to line, and this is something that I deal with every day. It's something we struggle with every day. We have processes. We do everything, I think, as close to right as we can, and we still fail at meeting our goals when it comes to time to line. And this is something you can't fail at. And we've been working hard for 5 years trying to perfect this, and we have not nailed it yet. So don't get frustrated. Take what I'm about to give you today and develop a process. And also we're going to include my talk I gave at Buy Here, Pay Here United, I think in 2018 or 2019, that will help you be better at this. So number one, what is time to line? So I define it as the time we purchase the car and to the time it hits the lot ready to go. I have two different ways to measure it: the VDP front line and the true front line. And you may say, what's the VDP front line? The VDP is where most of your customers come from. It's your vehicle description page on their website. The faster you can get it there, the faster you can sell it. And so in our process, we get it to the VDP page as soon as it hits the ground at our dealership. And this allows us to take deposits on cars before they're ready. The front line takes a little bit longer, right? So we have a process of two different inspection processes it goes to from the time it hits the ground until it gets to the front line. But luckily, we can sell it before it hits the front line. So that is what time to line is: the time you purchase the car to the time it's ready to sell. Number two, how and why do we measure it? So the how is pretty easy. Like I just described, from the purchase to the front line, that is one way to measure it. Another way to measure it is from arrival to front line. And luckily, it doesn't take much to get cars moved from an auction to your dealership or from a new car store in town to your dealership. So make sure that you nail that. You won't have to worry too much about the difference in the purchase and arrival. We typically go 2 to 3 days from purchase to arrival. And so we got to make sure we get to the front line. So that's how we go about it. Why we measure it is what I talked about before we started. Sitting cars costs money. Anytime your cars are not ready to sell, you can't sell them and you can't make money on them. So each spot on your dealership lot costs you a little bit of money. It's called overhead. It's called floor planning fees. It's all these things that cost money that you don't think about, but it does. So make sure that you're getting these cars down the pipe, ready to sell. Faster to ready, faster to sold. That's something you should keep in the back of your mind. Faster you put money in the bank. So number three is, how do I go about developing that process? Well, in the slideshow that you should see in this newsletter, there's ways to measure this. And I go about asking each dealer about 10 questions that can help you develop the process. So ask the right questions. Go ahead and identify the bottlenecks you have. Your bottleneck might be, hey, I can't get cars through body. Hey, I can't find a good detailer. My subcontractor that I'm using just is not doing a good job, not doing it quick enough. All these questions you need to think about before you develop that process. And last but not least, when you develop your process, write it down. And when you write it down, train on it. Someone's going out of line, you pull them in, you sit them down and say, this is not how we do this. This is our process. If you don't want to run our process, then you can find another place to work. Hey y'all, hope this helps. It's super important, and we look forward to seeing you next week.